Baby's introduction into Dragon Ball Super. What does that look like? How do you tell that story? And what's the best possible angle for character development? Let's talk about it. Credit to World King Kanji for the thumbnail. Hey YouTubers, don't forget to subscribe and follow me on these social media platforms. Enjoy the video. That's right guys, today we're going to be talking about the future of Dragon Ball Super, when and if, and really, it's really when it returns, and what they can do story-wise. So you saw the title, you saw the thumbnail, we talked about it at the beginning. Should they bring Baby back? They're bringing back Broly. What could they do with Baby's character? How do they develop that story? Where does he come from? What does he do? And who does he go up against? Today, I am joined by World King Kanji.
That's right.
That's right. I am joined by World King Kanji, as I say it, because I'm a Southern boy. Today, we're going to discuss it, we're going to pitch it, and hopefully y'all guys enjoy it. So, this is Kanji's idea. He brought it to me. Man, do you want to just go off on here? What are your thoughts on Baby returning, and where do you see it going?
Okay, guys, so I just want to quickly mention the fact that, like, you know, although he has said very kindly that this is my idea, we have literally spent the last, sort of half an hour planning this out together, coming up with notes, thinking how it would all work and all this kind of stuff, so it's not entirely a creation of myself. However, we've really been thinking about this because, as he was saying earlier, with the chance of, well, not the chance, but considering the fact that Broly has been redesigned and sort of his backstory has been reimagined, it's not too hard to understand we've seen a lot of previous villains actually being reimagined. I mean, it happened a lot in the Tournament of Power itself, which is kind of where we're going to sort of go off on a tangent with this. So, during the Tournament of Power, we actually witnessed that there was a Safurijin or a Tuffle in Universe 2. Now, a lot of this is going to be based around this kind of idea. We're sort of retelling not just the Baby arc, but we're also taking elements of the plan to eradicate the Saiyans, and we're sort of merging them together in this and making it in the Dragon Ball Super kind of format. So we'll be using, like, you know, the cast we're all familiar with in Dragon Ball Super and how it would play out. So basically, you would have the story start off as basically a Tuffle from Universe 7 has at some point in history escaped to Universe 2 after his race has been destroyed by the Saiyans, where they sort of took over planet Vegeta. He would be able to seek refuge in this love-filled universe and hide away and start working on his plan to try and get back at the Saiyans. So you can see the elements of the plans to eradicate the Super Saiyans. And you can have the broadcast of the Tournament of Power that was being screened by Universe 2 being his deciding focal point to sort of go, right, alright, the Saiyans are getting too strong now. It's either I've got to release my creation now, or it's going to be redundant before I even release it. So now would be the appropriate time to do it. Now, of course, the strength that he has managed to make the creation is somehow sort of manufactured to sort of deal with the amount of power that they were displaying in the Tournament of Power. Now, this is obviously going to happen after the Dragon Ball Super Broly movie. Whether Broly's going to join the main cast or whether they're going to kill him or whatever, it really doesn't matter. You know, you can link each one into it. So you would have that being the sort of the line like they did in the Cell arc, where like they didn't realize that Goku and Vegeta had turned to Super Saiyans and all this kind of stuff, so the androids weren't aware of that, but they were still strong enough to at least put up some form of fight. So whether you were going to have Goku and Vegeta actually be stronger, like his Ultra Instinct stronger than whatever this creation would be, that's kind of like Baby rip-off, Baby 2.0, then yeah, probably. But you would have that. And the best way to kind of handle the situation for this Tuffle is to go to Universe 6 and start using his creation, his version of Baby, to infect and possess the Sadala Force, the respected Saiyan Force of Universe 6. Now, what are your thoughts so far on this?
No, I really like the idea. I mean, that was one of the things I really jumped on when the Tournament of Power was going on, and we got the confirmation that a Yardratian and a Suforian, or Tuffle, depending on your terminology with those characters and that race, the fact that they actually are in Universe 2, I think Universe 2 is definitely ripe for exploration in the future, just to know what's going on in that universe. Why is this so ridiculous? Why did Toei decide to do this? Or did Toriyama decide to do this? Obviously, Toritaro didn't actually change it at all, so there's something there. There's an idea at least lingering. So have this be the case. Heck, even have the Yardratians be the driving force that actually got them to Universe 2. Maybe the Yardratians are just that type of race that
they already knew about
crazy abilities.
They already knew about the instantaneous movement. You can even have the fact that the Safurijin maybe fled to the Yardratians planet after everything happened.
And that's how they got their multiversal entities, and whether or not that's an issue is something for a later date, but they made friends with the Ardradians, and then they escaped, however few left of them were, to Universe 2, because the Ardradians are like, all right, you want some place to live, some place that's safe. This universe seems to be okay because it's filled with love and all this other stuff. Just kind of keep your head down, which is what we've seen in Universe 2. They have a bad side, but it would just be really interesting to me to go there, see it on the screen, know that there's a multiverse there, because Universe 9 showed us in Dragon Ball Super that other mortals from other universes know that there's a multiverse. They weren't as ignorant as everyone on Earth was about it. So they know, they go to Universe 6, take over the Sadala Force, because that is the easier universe. They kind of showed themselves to be weaker than the Universe 7 Saiyans. Plus, these Tuffles would know how bad the Universe 7 Saiyans are, or at least perceive them to be, and strong. You want to actually go in very slowly. If you take over the Sadala Force, that leads us directly into a Planet Sadala arc, which everybody has been clamoring for. Goku and Vegeta, after the events of Dragon Ball Super Broly, go to Universe 6 for whatever reason, be it I finally want to see Kaba again, fighting all these Saiyans has made me kind of miss my home world or something, and I would really like to go on a history lesson or something. Go to Universe 6, and you end up kind of in the same realm that we were after the Black Star Dragon Ball arc in Dragon Ball GT, where Goku and everyone else goes into this environment and everything's just a little off. They don't, like, Kaba's not the same. All these characters who they're meeting, the Saiyan King and all this other stuff, not the same. What's going on here? And they don't know, because they're kind of foreign fish out of water the same way we are. Is this just the way it always is? Well, no, because Kaba doesn't usually act like this, and that's how we get into the main thrust of the story.
Well, the thing that's kind of interesting with this is I'd actually made a suggestion. The thing that's kind of interesting here is the fact that you could have Goku and Vegeta want to go to Planet Sadala. Goku, maybe his driving force to go to Planet Sadala is maybe he wants to fight with Kale and Caulifla again, because they seem to be getting really strong during the Tournament of Power. And that gives him a good reason to want to go back. Vegeta, of course, wants to see Kaba again. He wants to meet the Saiyan King that Kaba said that he reminded him of. And that really gives us an interesting kind of way to edge this in, because we know that Vegeta really... He does care about his family, he does care about Trunks, but he wants Trunks to be a proud Saiyan warrior. And so a really good thing for him to do is to take him to Planet Sadala for a little bit of a history lesson kind of thing. And perhaps, because Trunks is going, you can have some way that Goten goes too, or whatever like that. So you've got Goten and Trunks, and you've got Goku and Vegeta. So they kind of did something similar with the Patafu arc, where they had Goten and Trunks going with Jocko, and then you had Vegeta have to go and, fix things, and then eventually Goku goes as well. And then this kind of all makes like a similar sort of thing, but we want it to be a better kind of retelling of this kind of situation where we go, because we haven't really seen a whole lot of Goku, Goten, Vegeta, and Trunks. That we've barely seen any of those four characters all together. And this would be a really nice kind of thing for them to do with this. So you could have perhaps Goten and Trunks, of course, are much more friendly, so they're more likely to run off and try and start talking to all these other Saiyans, like, oh my god, like, so you're like me and stuff, and then, can you go Super Saiyan? And all the other kids are like, what? And so then, all these people are sort of gathering around Goten and Trunks as they're displaying their power, going, whoa, and all this kind of stuff. And then you could even have, because they're infected by this universe's creation of Baby, you could have maybe they sent out the smell of the Universe 7 Saiyans or something, and because they've got human blood mixed within them, they're not necessarily sure whether to attack them at first or not. They're kind of suspicious, but they're like, what? That doesn't smell exactly like we're told it's supposed to smell with, like, you've got this evil aura from the Saiyans from Universe 7, so they kind of like don't necessarily fight them until Goku and Vegeta start going and getting talking into them, and it's all like, get away. and then they're like, whoa, okay, and then they start going, why are you being like that with our dads and everything? And then it's like, what? They're your parents? Okay. And then it starts to make sense, and then they start getting all aggressive, and that's when you can start having the fights start to break out and stuff with all this. Now, whether you have Kale and Caulifla on this planet possessed or not is completely up to your interpretation of what they would do with the story. Because Kale and Caulifla, maybe they've been off with like Vados and Champa training to try and achieve Super Saiyan Blue, because it would be silly for Champa not to want to make his Saiyans get stronger, considering the fact that that's what they might have to compete with again if a Universe Survival Tournament ever happens again. it makes sense for Champa and Vados to want to try and train Kale and Caulifla, considering the fact they were the main force of survival during that. If they hadn't fused, like, the Universe 6 would have been wiped out long ago. So it could make sense that they're just not in the picture. Or, like I was saying before, with the fact that they wanted to infect the Sadala force, maybe because Kale and Caulifla aren't part of the Sadala force, they didn't get infected or whatever. But as I say, it's completely up to you. But then, now you've got that kind of nice dynamic that the Baby arc had, where you had Vegeta being possessed by Baby. Goku doesn't want to kill Baby because he's got Vegeta's body. If Kaba is the one who's in this position, then Vegeta doesn't want to kill Kaba because of his body. But I know you had some ideas about that as well, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean, like, the idea that characters are going to be killing each other, or there is the threat of death in an arc where it takes place in majority Universe 6, which I think is what we need. Arcs that focus on other multiverses and other threats from other multiverses. That's why Universe 2 to me is a great starting off point for all of this, is because we got one where Zamasu came from Universe 10. Jiren and the Pride Troopers were the threat from Universe 11. Now we got a threat from Universe 2, you know? And it takes place in Universe 6 with the idea that these Namekians just fused in order to fight in the Tournament of Power. So do they even have the Dragon Balls anymore? Or either one of them, they seem like warrior classes. I don't feel like they would put a Dragon Clan there, but they would probably fuse a lot. So did the person who they fused with was like an elder or someone who had like knowledge and skill or something, because they didn't want to lose that just in case, and they went to the greatest extent of actually losing their Dragon Balls. That way, Kaba, Sadala, all these other things, there is a risk there because the Universe 7 Dragon Balls can't bring them back. They can't wish between universes. So the only way to bring back anyone they kill here would be the Super Dragon Balls, which is great for Universe 6 because Champa's always the one looking for them. And however you play it out, you know, whether or not Kaba dies, and that's the emotional core of that part of the show, or the story they're trying to tell, then you have to look for the Super Dragon Balls. You're not going to let Kaba die, but it has to be that grand of a scale between two universes, and then where do you jump off from the story there? What's the next big thing? Who are they going to come across? And we get into a classic Dragon Ball search for the Dragon Balls arc. We haven't had that in a long time because it hasn't really mattered. It hasn't been an issue. Heck, Dragon Ball Super skipped over literally going to Namek, gathering the Dragon Balls, and wishing Piccolo back. So there's a lot you can do there, and it's really interesting. Like, this is a good jumping off point for something that they've been promising us, something that they did with the Tournament of Power allowed us to kind of shake our heads, scratch our heads, like, how do these two characters in this world make sense when they really should be in Universe 6 or 7? And it gives us something to develop characters and also jump off into the next arc. To me, it's perfect. Plus, if you're doing Baby, you kind of open up the door. I've been doing videos recently about bringing in Toa and Mira into the future. You can do somewhat of a Super 17 arc with the Red Ribbon Army, or the concept of taking characters out of time and putting them up. So basically, just when they do Dragon Ball Super again, what we're talking about in the broader strokes here is redo Dragon Ball GT. Like, literally, just redo Dragon Ball GT in multiversal time travel fashion with all these different characters expressing it more so. I mean, heck, you and I even talked about possibly bringing back the Shadow Dragons and what that would actually mean. This whole story, if they were to go this direction, feeds into that, because it is redoing it.
We've talked about this many times, and the sort of bottom line of everything is that GT had some really good story ideas. It was just poorly executed. Now, the thing that Dragon Ball Super didn't really have, for the main part of the beginning of it, of course, is, I mean, like, it had some ideas. Those ideas weren't entirely original. There was a lot of tournaments, yeah. and the thing that they did with Zamasu was just a rehash of Toyotaro's fan manga Dragon Ball AF, and that was basically just where he had there's everybody's known as Zycor and all this kind of stuff. That's where all that kind of originated, and this is why these things are worth talking about, because sometimes you have these good ideas and they kind of go, you know what, yeah, let's actually take that and let's do something with it. So as that got retold as a Zamasu arc, we then have this new Broly movie, which is retelling Broly. it is not in any stretch of the imagination an impossibility that they would actually do this whole rewriting Dragon Ball GT thing, but in a Super format. Especially not to mention, we don't know how much Toriyama may be involved if Dragon Ball Super returns, which is kind of, like we've said, implied quite heavily it's going to, thanks to the Jump Fiesta 19 stuff. And with that kind of being the case, Toei Animation were the people that came up with the idea of, like, you know, these arcs in Dragon Ball GT. It wasn't Toriyama. So if Toei is still kind of, like, you know, like those ideas and kind of went, okay, let's look what we did wrong first and let's correct that, they could make this one of the best series of Dragon Ball ever.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I think it's one of the things, just jump off the idea. Dragon Ball GT, as you said, has a lot of good ideas there. It is literally a series created by loving fans who just didn't get the pace right from the very beginning. They made one fatal decision with having Goku become a kid that really hurt the show going forward. Those first 13 episodes doomed the series, and then they had to rush through what were really good concepts. And we have a chance to correct that, you know, right that ship and tell great stories with everything introduced in Dragon Ball Super. They have that base, redo these stories, allow us to explore the world a little bit more, and then get into the stuff that people really want to see from this. Let's go into a Universal War, more tournaments, or something later down the line. But let's take what worked then, reshape it so it fits the continuity now, and hopefully expand upon it so it's really interesting going forward. Universe 6 being attacked by Tuffles from Universe 2, as crazy as that sounds,
which originated in Universe 7.
which originated in Universe 7 is interesting to me, and I would really like to see them take this direction, really.
Yeah, I completely agree. And once again, like, you know, where this arc would leave off makes the Dragon Balls the main focus of the show. And that is something that I think is very problematic with Dragon Ball, especially in Z. It doesn't take a whole lot for them to kind of forget about the Dragon Balls, and then it just becomes, you have arcs where the Dragon Balls just barely involved. It's like...
No, I completely agree.
And it's the name of the show. I mean, come on, like, you've got to have them have some relevance in some shape or form. But, you know, again, I'm sure we'll cover this in a video at some point because I've got a ton of ideas written down for it. Like, if this somehow blends into the Shadow Dragon retelling arc, it could be, I'm just going to say it could be it could be the greatest arc of Dragon Ball if they tell it correctly. You know, it could be exciting, it has relevance to the Dragon Balls, and I'm just going to leave the rest of it for when we actually do the video. But you guys don't want to miss that one.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, hope everyone is having a fantastic day. Don't forget to go down to the description section below and go hit that link to go subscribe to World King Kanji. You can thank him for the amazing thumbnail that's right on the screen right now. So definitely go check him out. Some very talented artwork and also fun discussions and just in general funny discussions if you want that from the Dragon Ball community. At the same time, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe onto this channel. It's been a fantastic day. Hope everyone's having one. It's been real.